von der Manga Comic Con, vom Comicstand mit Jason Masters, dem Künstler von James Bond, geschrieben von Warren Ellis, erscheint bei Splitter. Jason, good to have you here.
Oh, good to be here, thank you. Yeah, it's a lovely show. Never been to Germany before, so it's great for me.
So it's your first con in Germany?
Yeah, first con in Germany, first trip ever to Germany, yeah, in fact.
And you like it so far?
Oh, I love it. I'm staying in Leipzig, so I've only really seen Leipzig itself, but it's magnificent. The people are lovely. Everywhere I look, I'm seeing more beautiful things, and then I come to the con and it's more of the same, just with a comic book slant.
So good to hear that, and from what I heard so far, your book that has recently published, the second volume that has recently published by Splitter, is doing very well as well, and that may not only be because of your lovely artwork, but also because of the author who is legendary writer Warren Ellis, who's a friend of yours.
Well, we're friendly online. I've never met him personally, but yes, I consider us friendly. We chat a bit, occasionally talk drinks, but yeah.
So about time then.
Yes, we should be meeting, hopefully one day. I was hoping he would come here, but I know he's not doing conventions, so unfortunately not. I'm going to have to track him down, unless maybe I think we're friendly and he's just trying to avoid me.
I don't think so. So he wouldn't have picked you for a license like this then?
Oh, you're probably right.
So talking about the license and what it is an iconic license, been there for many years, and the generation of our fathers also loved James Bond when they were kids. What is your relationship to the character, to the movies, maybe the novels? Have you been a fan before and as a kid?
I think like most of us, I grew up with the films. My first exposure to James Bond was Roger Moore, so I always knew him as a bit more camp, say, or flamboyant than the other James Bonds, and then from there I watched the others. I only started really reading the books after I got the job, because I wanted to know a little bit more about the James Bond from the books, because that was the mission statement that Warren was given. Don't do a James Bond from the books, don't do a James Bond from the movies, rather do it from the books. And and I'm now also a fan of the books. It's, everything about it is fun. It's just a brutal, cool guy that takes no shit from anybody. Can I swear? I'm not sure if I can.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Takes no shit from anybody and always gets the goal. I mean, what's not to love about that?
It is absolutely lovely, because talking for myself, I've seen some movies and liked them, but I've never been a really big fan because this movie James Bond was not my kind of hero. But when I read the comic books, that, like you said, are referring more to the original novels, but I also think you added a lot of new aspects to it.
Well, yes, mainly Warren added the aspects. I just probably added some of the gore and some of the acting that James Bond does, but a little bit.
It can't be so little, because we have some sequences that have no text at all. So of course he wrote these sequences, the panels as well, but you must have had some hand in this as well.
Yes, I was quite lucky. Warren would write the scripts, and if I felt like I could maybe tell the story in a slightly different way, that maybe got what I thought his vision was across in a smoother way, an easier way for the reader to enjoy, maybe try to make it a bit more dynamic, then him and the publisher let me do it, and it was quite fun.
And is there a certain aspect that you could think about that that was originated by you, that you took to the concept? Because what I really liked about it was him not being in this expensive snobby bars in a hotel lobby, but being in Berlin in a coffee shop. Yes. And being more grounded.
I can't unfortunately take credit for that. I did try and keep things as realistic as possible, did a lot of research. Most of the bars that he was in were actually referenced to me by Warren. They would be bars that he's been to, so I tried to draw them as closely as possible. But then I would do research in places like in the first book, when he's in Helsinki, I try to in the cold open, James Bond is chasing a character through the streets of Helsinki, and I tried to get it to look like a park there. I even went so far as to look at what the petrol stations or the gas stations, I'm not sure what you call them here, look like, to get the logos right, so that, you know, if somebody was like, for me, a thing that always bothered me when I was reading comics and somebody would be like, oh, here's the Nelson Mandela Bridge, and somebody would draw a river underneath it, and there's no rivers under our Nelson Mandela Bridge. So I would like somebody who, from their hometown, to see their city and go, yeah, that could be it. And then maybe I added a little bit more of the gore and the violence, making it less, I wouldn't glorify it so much. I try to make it a bit more real. So that if somebody gets shot, it's not a pretty thing. We don't glorify violence; it's a horrible business.
It is.
And James Bond's about a horrible job sometimes.
But that's a good point, because I see just as you do, violence is a wrong thing that shouldn't happen at all. But stories and entertainment, I think you can't say that James Bond is purely intellectual stimulation without any entertainment in it. That may and should contain violence, because it's also a good thing for the reader to have something where he can just work off his aggressions. It's helping me sometimes.
I can see that, absolutely. And also, you never really know what someone's going to enjoy. Maybe someone's just going to enjoy the backgrounds of a story, and other people might actually get off on the violence, you know, or the fight choreography, or what people were wearing. So yeah, you know, you never really know.
Speaking of violence and realistic violence, there recently was published a statement by Warren Ellis about punching Nazis in the face. About there was this thing at the inauguration of the President of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump, and there was some guy, I don't remember his name, and I think it's a great thing that I don't remember it. He's an alt-right, and he got punched in the face. Yes. And Warren said that's a great thing and wrote an article about it. How do you think about it when you say that you don't postpone violence?
Well, I personally wouldn't maybe punch a Nazi in the face. I support everybody else's right to, and you know, think they should go for it. I read Warren's article, and I agreed with him on all the points. I'm never going to say let's all go punch Nazis, but if you're going to do it, yeah, I'm probably going to support you.
And I think most superheroes would.
Yeah.
And of course, the James Bond, in the service of His Majesty, also would support it. He would have before.
Except I think his technique would probably have been a bit better.
More effective.
I think there would have been less like ear grabbing and more unconsciousness on the floor. Okay, so maybe my statement should be: if you're going to do it right.
And that is what James Bond does, and not only James Bond, but also many other superheroes. And when doing my research and checking what you've been working on, it's remarkable how many really big franchises there are. You've been working at Batman Incorporated with Grant Morrison, another very renowned, very celebrated British author. Many other Batman titles. I think you did Nightwing it was? And
Batwing, yes. And Batwoman. I worked, luckily enough, on quite a few of the Bat franchises. My Batman Incorporated stint was really just helping out Chris Burnham, the main artist on the book. The deadlines were very tight, and so I just helped him out with about 3 or 4 pages for 4 or 5 issues. And yeah, so it was quite fun getting to work with Grant Morrison. He's another writer I would like to work with in a proper capacity, as opposed to just, how would they say it in America, the pinch hitter, just there to help out in an emergency.
And seeing how many lifetime goals for a comic artist you have achieved in your career.
I'm incredibly lucky, but it's one of those things where I've done it now, and now I'd like to do it better. Somebody came to me yesterday and asked me to draw a Mr. Freeze, and because I did a one issue for it back when the New 52 started, and I was looking back through my comic because I couldn't remember how I drew him and what the design was, and I was just like, oh God, what have I done? so I wasn't saying yes. I was to any other sketches. People were asking me for Batman, but I was only doing James Bond. But that one I said yes to because then I got a chance to like draw it better, to try and redeem myself. So that was, that was a good opportunity. Hopefully I will get to redeem myself on some of the others.
Still, seeing at the list of your achievements and your age, you've been pretty fast so far.
No, not bad, considering I've only really been doing comic books for about 6 years. So yeah, not terrible.
I still think it's remarkable. But when we keep in mind that you've worked on James Bond, Batman, that you've worked with Warren Ellis and Grant Morrison, still, are there franchises or writers that you'd say, man, I'd like to get those on my list?
Yeah, well, Grant Morrison is one. I would like to work with him on something different. I would love to work with Warren again at some point. There's quite a few actually. I'm a fan of Brian Bendis, but I think what I'd probably like to do more than any of those is start working on some of my own creator-owned things. Hopefully, working on more of the franchises will open up doors to where people will be like, oh, okay, well, let's see what he does when he's doing his own books. So hopefully, one day. So
you'd like to write as well, or did you already?
I haven't written yet. I wouldn't mind working with a writer in some sort of a creator-owned collaboration. But I'm not opposed to writing for myself, but I have a feeling that if they hear it's the artist writing, people aren't going to be coming to run to my door. Yeah.
I think they will. And if Brian Bendis sees this, he won't. But still, it's a good introduction for a goodbye. So.
Well, look, there's many writers. But you know how when somebody asks you about what your favorite bands are and then you can't remember them? Well, I'm having one of those. I'd also love to work with Matt Fraction. I think he's a really great writer.
Yes, yeah.
Kelly Sue DeConnick, I think. Jeff Lemire. There's so many. It's really there's a wealth of amazing writers out there at the moment. I think we're very lucky as comic book fans and readers.
Thank you so much for the charming interview, and looking forward to any of these that you pointed out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.